Hey guys, and welcome to my coverage of the patch 7.16 patch notes. Starting off, we are getting the capstone for the job quests, where if you complete like all the different job quests, then you're going to be getting this brand new quest called Picking Up the Torch from Roll Majun in Tuiolil X of 12.3 and Y of 14.6. Likewise, this has also been added into New Game Plus. There's been a brand new but unspecified Orchestrion Roll being added to the game, and a brand new kind of dramatic emote that's been added. This is kind of my reaction when I step into Lim's Limits and I see the cat girls, and we're gonna stop there, but yeah. My beast, a beast! Next up, we are looking at the change which has been splattered all over YouTube, so I'm not gonna spend a long time talking about it, which is that now you can exchange 5 Clouddark demimateria 1, so 5 of those Clouddark demimateria 1 into one single Clouddark demimateria 2. Honestly, super healthy change for the game, in my opinion. I think that it's good, especially if you're going and doing this in PF. I mean, you're having hard enough time, like, girl. Now we're going to be talking about a bunch of PvP buffs, which is going to start with Dark Knight's Eventide is getting a buff from 8,000 to 16,000 to 10,000 to 20,000, so just how to describe this, like a quarter more damage added onto each. 25% increase, that's probably appropriate to put it that way. 25% increase to Eventide's damage. Ninja is looking at Doton being nerfed and having its damage reduction changed from 25 to 20%. Viper is looking at its first, second, third, and fourth generation skills, getting 1/3 more damage from 6,000 to 8,000 damage. Machinist is looking at a buff to Full Metal Field, having its potency increased from 8,000 to 10,000, so roughly 25% buff there, and its recast time has been reduced by just 2 seconds. Is just 2 seconds gonna make that big of a difference? But just 2 seconds, from 32 to 30 seconds. Black Mage has gotten a buff to their ability called Burst, where its potency has been increased from 12,000 to 15,000, and then Berry Strength was also increased from 12,000 to 15,000. Summoner had its Mountain Buster ability increased by 20% from 10,000 to 12,000 potency of damage, and then Summoner's Slipstream ability now grants a utility to it, which it didn't have before in any capacity, which is that Slipstream will now increase movement speed of allies by 25%. I think that this is interesting because, and I'm just taking a small tangent for a bit, but we know that in PvE content that Scholar has Expedient, and Expedient raises the group's movement speed. So seeing Slipstream being experimented around with Summoner here, I find very interesting, because I'm wondering if at some point the developers are considering adding that kind of thing to Summoner, because we all know that Summoner is kind of in a bit of a weird position between Picto, Black Mage, and Red Mage, and so interesting to see here. Anyhow, back to the patch notes, enough deviation there. For White Mage, we're looking at a small little bit of shifting, nothing that I'm going to consider too radical, if I'm going to be quite honest. So the first thing is that Glare 3 now has the effect where it changes into Glare 4 when under the effect of Sacred Sight. So Glare 3 is going to be what you press for your Glare forecast, and then Seraph Strike has completely lost the action changes to Glare 4 upon execution. So we're looking at Seraph Strike not being Glare 4, and instead they're moving that on top of Glare 3. Now, Afflatus Purgation, we're looking at a nerf to its total healing from 6,000 to 4,000 per tick. And so that is actually quite a healthy nerf. That is like a roughly 33% nerf. So that's ouch. However, Glare 4 has gone a bit of a love tap. It's not that great of a buff, if I'm honest, but it's from 8,000 to 9,000. White Mage has definitely lost a lot more, in my opinion, from these changes. Scholar's ability Summon Seraph had the effect of Seraphic Illumination, which would buff recovery from healing actions to 20%, which I would really like in PvE. I would really like that some days. Although, unfortunately, in PvP it is also getting nerfed, unfortunately down to 10%. Astrologian is also being nerfed, and that is Microcosmos is getting its its healing changed from 5,000 minimum to 4,000 minimum, and then we are looking at 25% of compiled damage down to 20% of compiled damage. So you can look at it as roughly this will heal you roughly 20% less overall. Now, I'm not going to go over every single skill here because there is a lot, and so I want to say a shout out to the dev team because clearly they're looking at the netcode, clearly they're making things a lot better. And so this is a section saying the time between action execution and effect activation has been shortened for the following PvP actions. So that can be translated to these abilities are all going to be much more snappy and feel much like better. And like this is an extensive list. Like I'm not gonna have the time to go through all of it because that would be like 3 minutes of bloat for the video, but like shout out to the devs because they clearly are working on the reactivity of the game, and this is like going probably down into the deep net code. That's super good for the game. Like this is actually really positive, and I want to do a big shout out of that. That's actually awesome to see. Season 12 is going to be coming to an end, and then likewise Season 13 is going to be beginning with a new set of rewards. I did click the rewards tab for anyone, and it just took me back to the main lodestone page. I actually just opened it up again. Sorry guys, there's no listing of rewards for Season 13, but we know Season 13 is coming. Likewise, there is also, as they promised, there would be shifts in the logical data center where you need to go for ranked PvP. So in Japan, this is to Elemental, North America is to Dynamis, Europe is to Light, and Oceanus is to Materia. Now, what I'm going to say here is that I am looking at resolved issues, which is something that I normally don't look at. Why am I looking at that? Because obviously we had the fucking creepy stalker plugin, and I was looking for any information there. And so what is said, quote unquote, as I'm looking at the page right now, is other various issues have also been addressed. So to my little pea brain, I'm hoping that the developers have looked into things like lodestone IDs. That's been an issue for years at this point. Changing that system up. Looking at the account IDs not being sent to the client because that was what playerscope plugin used and tapped into that exposed account ID in order to make their creepy plugin work. Although obviously that problem is gonna be that they can recreate the graph because as long as the characters' names are the same. However, this would go a long way. So I mean, if you say have like an alt account, it would probably be once again anonymous. If again, a big if they change the account IDs and lodestone IDs, and then you change your character's name, the alt account character's name, which I know that a lot of people would be considering doing. Although I do believe that what would also be healthy given the scope of this plugin, which is actually the development term. Like the functionality probably would be the more layman term. The playerscope plugin also covered things like retainers. I do believe that it would be fair to give every single player the ability to change all their retainers' names at least once. I can't remember if that's free or not. I literally have never changed my retainers' names, at least not that I can recall. It will literally have had to be years. But yeah. And now kind of like an aside is that what was interesting here is that the Cloud of Darkness Chaotic had the actions Lateral Core Phaser and Core Lateral Phaser oppositely labeled. Oh dear. I mean, it's playing into the chaotic aspect of it, right? Anyhow, that does it for this video, and by now you've probably seen that I am tormenting myself clearing Futures Rewritten in Party Finder. This maintenance could not have come at a frigging worst time. I am literally clear ready, just trying to clear, and what the hell? Why is APOC so hard for like so many people? I literally, like, you might even be able to tell it in this video, but I like literally have pneumonia right now, and I literally have done APOC with my eyes closed. Like, I mean, I identify where, obviously. Like, I'm not, I don't have like divine sense or whatever for like APOC things, but like I identify where. Close my eyes, go to the APOC position, and somehow I still do it better than these people. Why the fudge is APOC? Arg. I digress. But anyhow, take care, everyone.